Okay, so that's actually third thing into the Reloved workshop this weekend is a Jackson, how do they call these things? These are called Jackson Adrian Smith guitars. This belongs to a guy from my local town, the name of Tom, who got in touch with us, actually proving that adverts in shop windows finally do work. First bit of work that's come to Reloved guitars through the advert, but since I only paid I don't know, about £6 for 10 weeks or something, or no, £10 for 10 weeks, something like that. That's not a bad price. So yeah, Tom got in touch last week or so, and he's going to want a full service on the guitar, including fret leveling, and what he also wants is the pickup he's currently got in the neck position moving to the middle, and a new Seymour Duncan hot rails put into the neck position. So we're going to do that for him. It is a guitar I've not seen before, but I like the look of it already. It's a Strat guitar, obviously, Strat style. It has locking nut at the top here, which I'm beginning to like more and more, and a Floyd Rose special trem system on the back, which again I like very much. So for Tom, what we're going to do, just to say by the way, we don't really have any play in the nut area here, which means we're going to leave that as is. It's not bad at all, actually. So we're going to take care of the fret leveling, and then we're going to, if it's possible, we'll take the action down. However much more is good for the playing action and good for the sound of the guitar. It's not too bad at the moment, I have to say, but I won't guess, I will get my little piece of kit out, and I will tell you, I mean everyone else measures 12th fret, but I'm going to measure at the 20s, I guess on this one it's 22nd or something, and we've got just over 1.5 millimeters, which isn't bad at all, but theoretically we should better take that down to about 1 millimeter. Particularly since I suspect this guitar is probably used in quite a shreddy sort of style of music, fast finger work, fast lead guitar work. To that end, it has what looks like a very flat radius, so it's one of those guitars that is really made for that kind of play. I have to say, looking at it just now, one of the challenges, or one thing I can see straight away, is this neck has some upward hump in it, which is not ideal for playing. So we want to dial a little bit of that out, and I suspect it's yeah, the truss rod will be accessible under the scratch plate here, which is a bugger because it's one of those. I found this before. The only place I've ever come across this challenge before was on an Encore left-handed Strat, believe it or not, where they had designed it so that the truss rod adjustment is under the scratch plate, which can, so basically you can't, how do I put this, if you want to get at it, obviously you want to adjust the truss rod once you've loaded the strings, so you see what you're doing under load. The problem is to put the strings on and put them under tension. This is usually back in place. With this guitar and that Encore left-handed Strat, for some reason it isn't like that, so it becomes very, very difficult. How do you access the truss rod adjuster right under here when this pick guard is fully put in place and the strings tightened? The only way you can do it is kind of pretty much to pull it all off, disconnect it all, put it off to one side, put the strings on, load it, get the action right, take the strings off, put the scratch plate back on, which is a real pain. I don't know what they were thinking of when they did this, to be honest. Anyway, it's not impossible. We do have some sets of strings knocking about, and these aren't too bad, so we'll keep these potentially for using for that purpose, to put it under load, sort out the truss rod setting, chuck the strings off, put all the scratch plate back into place, then put new strings on, and do it that way. So I just have to keep that in mind. It's an annoying extra step, and I just honestly don't know what they were thinking of when they did that. But as I say, hopefully Tom's probably watching this at some point afterwards, and I can see from here that there is okay, there's some gravity involved. All the technical luthiers will tell me it is a bit too flat for my liking, and if anything, whilst held with gravity in place this way, which isn't accurate, I know, there is a bit of hump in it, but just taking the gravity off the neck there, it's still a bit too flat. There's no relief in that to let the strings kind of spin. So anyway, we'll be getting straight onto that. Well, we'll get onto this one in a little while. We've got a couple of warm-up jobs to do on a couple of other things that I want to take back to their owners next week, and then we'll move on to this one. damn. Now, I'm sorry, or maybe you've been lucky that for the last God knows how long you've not had to listen to me. Just while I'm there, let me just kill this horrible fly. Get out of my way, stinking thing. Right. Okay, so we have to level the frets, and obviously if there's a high fret, we want to level it to the same level as the frets around it, or the low frets around it. If we do that, then it's kind of obvious what we're going to get is we're going to end up with normal fret, and the fret next door to it is going to be chopped flat on top like this. Although, of course, it will be the right level, it'll just be flattened, and that's no good for the guitar or for guitar playing, because the intonation is based on the string going over the, if you like, the middle point of your fret, and so on this fret here, because it's a nice curve, it's right at the top. So in a way, if you think that the top of the fret down to your nut is a certain distance, right? That's the kind of playing length of the string when fretted on that fret. With this one, because it's a flat top, instead of being in the middle, the start point of the string, if you like, comes down to the front edge of the fret there, which is kind of a little bit less. It's that much less than it should be, where it should be in the middle, but because it's flat, it moves to the front point. So this is a smaller distance, and that will throw your intonation off. So what we have to do is we first of all level them, and the next job is to re-profile them. So that means we take the fret, and let's do a diagram of big flattened fret, exaggerated, okay? We want to move this point here where the string starts, if you like. We want to round it off and move that point back to there. So what we do is we kind of file away the sides of this fret. That's very exaggerated. You can see that, leaving a rounded fret, which is kind of back to the original shape. So that's reprofiling, and you can see that in doing that we take away all of this material on the sides. But what's really critical is you notice we don't take any off the top there, because we don't want to lower the fret anymore, because we've just gone to the trouble of leveling it. If we were to take any more off the top, then we create unevenness again, and we're back to square one. So you can see that taking the top off a little bit off all the frets, including the high ones, but more off the high ones, that will take away any surface imperfections. It will also take away any worn out bits, finger grooves and so on, string grooves. But then we have to reprofile each fret. To do that, we have a tool whose profile is like this, and it's a kind of diamond file with lots of little particles of diamond on it there, and we put that on top of this flattened fret. And first of all, because of these sticky up edges, it cuts away the edges until it then just kisses the top of the fret. And once it does that, we stop, and we know that we've taken the edges away, but we haven't gone any further down. So that's reprofiling or crowning. And then the final stage is that we then have to polish that nicely reshaped fret back up to a lovely smooth finish. So it's a 3-step process, and it's going to take some time. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back out so you can get a sort of wide-angle shot of what I'm doing next. Okay, so like I said, it takes some time. We're all calm and collected. For this first bit, we're going to run a check on the state of the frets. Now, technically, we don't need to do this because we're using the big file. It doesn't really care which one's high and which one isn't. It does them all at once because it's a nice long flat file. That's a bonus of this. You don't need to do any marking. You just mask it off, make sure it's perfectly level to begin with, and off you go. But we have a leaderboard here, which I'm going to put some more stuff on tonight. Over the last few months, I've got loads of photographs of each neck that I've done and how many uneven frets that neck has and where they tend to be. And so I've got a whole bunch of guitars to go on this leaderboard of shame, the fret leaderboard of shame. But right at the moment, The best ever was a vintage Les Paul made by John Hornby Skews, the vintage range, and that had 15%. Now I don't know whether that's because they're great when they come out of the factory. I think they are pretty good actually, or whether it was because it was owned by somebody who did a good fret job on it. But either which way, that was the best one so far. The worst one so far is this beauty here, this Ace Pro, almost never heard of this brand before, SG Copy, 80%. Now what I'm interested to know is where everything falls, but also can we get one better than this and one worse than that. And if I'm doing this for your guitar, is yours going to be the worst one or the best one? So, so that's why we're going to do some checking to get a build-up a picture to see where this guitar falls on our leaderboard, even though it's technically not necessary because you don't need to do that to be able to use this. You just get straight on and do it. So first of all, we're going to do this checking, and I'm going to start down this end, and we use our fret rocker, which is a four-sided piece of metal, and the way you do this is you make sure you choose the right edge, but you put it over 3 frets at a time, only 3 frets, and you're trying to rock this thing over the fret in the middle. If you can rock it either side, it means that relative to the one in the middle, it means one of these sides is low. So you mark the high spot, because usually what you find is it rocks either side. It doesn't just tip one way. So you use this, and as you go down the neck, you obviously need to use smaller and smaller sides to do the checking. You always need 3 frets under the rocker. So we're doing this really for info and for the purpose of our threading leaderboard here. Now, I've no idea what to expect with this Jackson. I have to say, to start and find the first fret has no issues is fantastic. Second fret has no issues. I can barely believe it. But there are some marks on the frets. I mean, it does need a kind of redress. Now here we hit the first. Do we hit the first inkling of a problem? I don't think we do. I think I'm being a bit hopeful. Yeah, we got a bit there. Hurrah! I mean, it's not that I want anything to be perfect or anything. But yeah, I don't know if you can hear it. It's not a huge high fret, so quite subtle. But the higher the fret, the louder the clicking noises that you get, and you can feel it and hear it at the same time. So, well, I'm impressed. This is potentially going to hit the top of the leaderboard at this rate. What it also means is that we may struggle, since it's already this good. We've got a bit here now. We may struggle to lower the action that much more on this. I know Tom was interested in squeezing any more, any lower action if we could out of it. This is tricking me. Let me just check something. That's all good. This is making a monkey out of me. One minute it's rocking, next minute it's not. No, that's not. Cancel that. Wow. This baby's on a winning streak, I think. Very impressed. I think what will improve the playing will be having a little bit of relief in the neck. It was too straight before. But this is a Boy, this is going to be an out-and-out winner. Either that, or I've lost all my ability to check for level. Tiniest bit. Oh my lordy. Hooray! My goodness, a bit of uneven frets keeps us in a job. That's crap, that isn't an uneven fret. We wipe that one out. Just do it again. No, it's not. My goodness. This one is. Yes, this one is. Hurrah, I'm not making that up. Really strange. This is almost deceptive. I kind of feels like there is a bit there. I'm not mad. It's tricky there. We are finding a little bit up the end here, thankfully. This is, I'm taking far longer than I normally would, because something about this guitar that is really deceptive. It's very interesting. It's just catching me out, and I go and check again, and it's like it's not there again, but then it is, and then it isn't. Weird. Right, we're on to the shortest bit now. Okay, this one's most of the way across, thankfully. Gives us something to write home about. I'd say, you know, mostly this has turned out to be pretty good. Pretty good neck. A little bit. Where there is some on this neck, it tends to be quite mild. I've not had any great big kind of clanking noises, which we often get with some significantly high frets. But so this, you know, this may liberate us a tiny amount. Okay, so I'm just going to go back and mark where we've actually got some issues on this neck, and then that will let me count up the percentage and put it on its rightful place on the leaderboard, and after that then we can go on into the leveling process. Okay, so out of, we can't do the first and the last, so we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 available frets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 out of 20, 4 out of 10, 40%. Da, 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 da. So that now goes on our leaderboard. We can stick it straight down here, and we'll call it, it's the Jackson Adrian Smith. Not bad. Right, here we go now. Now we're going to get on and level our frets. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to go right across the top of all of these frets with the permanent marker. And this is just a sneaky, handy way of us knowing, once we start working with the file, it'll tell us where we've been, where we haven't been. Okay. So this won't take much metal off this fret leveling, because first of all, none of the high spots are particularly high, and also there aren't any major surface imperfections that need to be ground out or taken out. If you think about it, if you've got a set of frets, I'll just work quickly. Let's say you've got a set of frets. Not to scale, obviously. Say you've got a series of frets and you've got a big chip out of one of them, okay? It follows that you are going to have to take all of them down as far as is necessary to get the chip out of the one that's got it in. You can't just wear away a single fret and hope for the best, because what you'll do is you just create a great big dead spot where all the notes will get messed up. So a big chip in a single fret will kind of result in quite a lot of metal being taken off the whole fret, all the frets on the fretboard. It's quite extreme, and that's why a couple of weeks ago I did a friend's guitar which had about 25 years of playing in the first, well actually quite a lot of frets, and the grooves that it had cut were really deep, and we had to literally take everything down. The only other way around that is to put a whole new fret in that place or refret the whole thing. But this is fine. This has got a very small amount of grinding from the wound strings on the surface, which will make it a bit crunchy. It's got some mild high frets, which again are quite marginal or quite mild, minimal, and so this will be done without taking much metal off the top. So here we go. We get the fret leveling file and we just put it onto the neck. Just get everything smooth and parked up nicely, and put it on the neck and just run end to end, and it's got to go tilted a little bit off the edge here to make sure we get right to the edge. We don't want it chattering like that. We don't want our sleeve catching in it like that either. Okay, so once we've done the edge, then we come towards the middle, keep the pressure the same all the way, and hope the fly doesn't get you. This chattering is not so good. I don't like my sleeve getting in the way here. It's not good. Okay, and then we basically work our way across the whole width of the neck. We get to the other side, and you can see that it's taken, as it's going, I don't think you can see it from that camera, but you might be able to, it's created quite a bit of swarf or little bits of metal that's taken off, so it's a good idea to just brush those off so that we don't have them, get rid of that fly into the bin. Cute. And now what I'm going to do is, just to ensure that I've got everything evenly, I'm going to turn the file around and come back the other way, making sure that the pressure on the first few frets is even, equivalent to the pressure on that's been on the other ones. It's sometimes quite easy for the first and last frets to be omitted from this process, so you have to sort of think consciously about them, to include them, otherwise they miss out on the treatment. Okay, so I can see that I've covered absolutely every fret, everything's been done, and what you do now, I mean, it looks pretty extreme. Okay, you can see that we've taken some material off the top of all of these frets. Okay, and what we're going to do now is we're going to just check every single spot that was previously uneven, and we're going to make sure that we've cured everything that we had picked out as uneven. And looks perfectly good. And if, to be on the safe side, I always recommend that you pick a few random spots at other points that you didn't mark up and just double check them to be absolutely sure that everything's good. Now, you don't need to do this really because this system guarantees that everything's level. Okay, so we have now done our first thing. We've leveled the frets, quick and easy, right, on a nice flat neck, as flat as we can get it. Frets are leveled. Now then you go over the top again with your marker pen and go across every single fret, and the marker pen now will serve another function. Last time it showed you let you know you're taking metal away. This time it's going to let you know you're leaving metal on the very top of the fret, which is what you have to do now, because we're going to reshape the fret to take this flat surface, or this flat bit off the top, but we're going to do it in a way that doesn't take any more off the top. So this marker pen, the purpose it serves now will be just to tell us that we haven't taken any off the top. And what we use for this is this wonderful tool called the fret crowning file, and this is one that I bought from Stu Mac. Now what's slightly annoying about this is it's got two different size, it's got a jumbo fret size and a medium jumbo size, and I can, well, first thing is they don't bloody well label it. Right? There's a little thing, there's a little faint Stu McDonald thing, and it's a 300 grit. They do not label which side is the thingy, you know, the medium jumbo and the jumbo. So I've got a test neck here from way back. It's an old Encore neck, and I'm just going to do a couple of frets actually. I'm just going to try and see if I can find out which of these, which side is the, what's that? What's that? How do I know? I think that's the medium and the other one's the large, but I don't know, it's hard to tell. Let's try again. Small. So if I think that's the medium, then I'm going to spin it round to this side, and I think that's the jumbo file. Do I really? No, that's not true. So bit of trial and error. I think that's the medium, and this is the jumbo side. But what's slightly annoying is I don't know, so I'm just going to have to go on trust for a moment and hope that I've got that right. It's not at the end of the world if I haven't, it just makes it take a little bit longer. So medium I think is that one, that's that one there, so I'm going to say jumbo I think is this one. Well, we'll see. Okay, so having marked our, having marked our frets up again, now we're going to use this medium, which we've got here and been using quite a bit by the looks of it. We'll use the medium file to get to work on these, and it's quite a simple process really. You just put this file on top of the fret, and you let the file do the work really, and as I sort of go backwards and forwards, I know that it's taking the edge, or the shoulders if you like, off the fret, and it's leaving a nice thin strip of marker pen down the middle. And that's great for me because it tells me that we haven't gone any lower on the fret, and I can do it as long as I want, as long as that until the fret the tool starts to take off the marker pen, and then I move on to the next one. And again, just letting it work away at that edge. You can see it bites the shoulder first, and then kind of works its way in towards the middle, but always leaving the middle untouched, which is exactly what we want. If we were doing this manually by hand with a manual file, we would be doing kind of exactly the same thing, just manually. We would be working on the sides, but ensuring that the top didn't get touched. Now, doing this is much easier than using the file, the hand file, manual file. Three-sided file would take longer, quite a bit longer, maybe another quarter as long again. But in both cases, you leave a very thin strip of marker pen down the middle of the fret, which tells you haven't got taken anything off the top. But it also means that that little thin strip of marker pen will still retain the scratches from this file, which, as I said, are really rough. So part of our polishing job next, the most important part of the polishing job that follows, will be to ensure that we take off that scratching left by the file, because if we don't, the fret will be horrible to play, and we will not be able to bend strings. They'll just be gritty, because even you can even feel that things you can't even see will get in the way, restrict the bend of the string. So the critical phase next, the polishing phase, and it's all critical, but so it's funny doing these videos because sometimes when I meet people, maybe it's somebody who's I've done their guitar for them, and if we have a conversation, and I sometimes will talk about some of the things I've learned, and I go, yeah, you said that in your video. It's quite weird not feeling like you better not say something in case you're repeating yourself, which I always do anyway. But yeah, not thinking that you're boring somebody because how many times have they watched you? You don't know. It's very weird. Especially since I kind of didn't start out doing these videos to be watched exactly. They were intended as information for somebody who might be thinking of buying a guitar that I'm selling. It's quite a nice, or still is quite a nice little USP. But then it sort of gets a bit of life of its own too. And of course with that comes the people who hate you for what you say and do, and, you know, which is a very strange thing. How the internet becomes a place of war very quickly over such silly little things that really, you know, if we as human beings, the human race, can't disagree on what substance you use to clean the lacquer on a guitar without going to war over it, we are a bit screwed. So yeah, I did a couple of months of working with the three-sided file, which is this thing here, doing the same job with this, and eventually figured, you know, since I was doing more and more of this, it was kind of only self-respecting really to buy a more expensive file from StewMac, and it's, you know, it's not cheap. It's about, you know, about 70 quid or something by the time you paid the carriage and converted from US dollars, but it's definitely worth it, and they have a really good customer service record by all accounts. Not that I've ever had to call them for any problems, but I hear that if and when you do, then they handle it brilliantly, because they know what their reputation's worth, which is good. Medium jumbo, right? Yeah. yeah, very nice thin little strip down the middle this is leaving, so it's doing the job very, very well. But I have to say this file works far better on frets that are in really good condition. If you get temperature, if you use it on older ones, the ones that sort of had their time, it can be, it's not hard to use, they seem to go straight down to the surface of the fret very quickly. These are doing a nice kind of controlled job on the shoulder of the fret, and then working their way down nicely. So it's a very controlled process. I'm not taking off the fret surface unexpectedly or anything. So really, at the moment, I haven't got any more, no more snipes going in on anything as we speak. The entire dynasty of guitars is here in this, well, either here in the shed or in the house, and that's what we've got. Just for info, we've got the Ace Pro Horror with 80% crappy frets. We've got the really nice quality Encore Les Paul, but it's the Blaster version. It really is a nice chunk of guitar. We've got this spares, probably not repairs, Squire Affinity Strat. You know, good quality spares if nothing else, but could be made to play again. We've got the vintage Cherry SG, which God knows how it survived. It's ludicrous packaging. I sent a note to the guy saying, you know, it did take a bit of a knock on the top tuners, and one of them's pretty wobbly. And there wasn't even a word of, oh, sorry it was such a lousy packaging job. We've got Megan's pretty nice looking no-name Les Paul copy, which is looking very nice, and everybody works on it now. We've got the Epiphone SG, very simple SG, again with a shim there, marked up and glued in place. We've got the vintage white SG, which I haven't really touched yet. We've got the Gould Les Paul copy here, which is a nice, solid, stately sort of boring guitar. You can hardly see it now. And we've got this crazy, wonderful 1980s Sun Mustang over there as well, waiting to get kind of looked at. So quite a few nice things, some of which, one or two of which, I sort of really want to keep. That's always my problem. Right, back to this. Back on the medium side of the tracks. We're nearly there, and then we're going to be into the process of polishing. And to this end, we've also got some new polishing wheels for the Dremel. I was using felt ones before, and they just kind of, I don't know, turned into fuzz very quickly. Fell apart. Sort of did the job, but I was keen to try something a little bit more sturdy. So we've got some of these fabric-y mops. I don't know if they also fall apart just as quickly. Maybe well do, but we'll give it a go. And so we keep those for the final stage of this job, which is to do a quick polish with some polishing compound on the top of the frets, just to finish off the hard work we've been doing for the longest while on this. Okay, 2 more frets. Again, the thing I've noticed on Tom's guitar here is that the majority of the precious few uneven frets were right at the top here. So that may be quite a good sign for us getting a little bit more of a little bit more mileage out of the action. If we take the action down now, and we should be able to lower it a bit without running into any problems choking the notes or anything. Okay, so that's my fret reprofiling done. Nice rounded frets ready to go. Now we have quite a long process coming up now, and it's the sanding regime. For this, we've got to start. We've got to use a couple of different. Where's my ruler gone? We've got to do a couple of different type grades, that's the word, grades of paper. So to begin with, we've got to get some, to get some 240 or 320. Let's have a look. Try. We've got 320. Let's work with 320. What's this? 600. 320. We'll have 320, 600, and then we'll go to the micro mesh papers. But this is quite a tricky job, and this is where we've got to be really, really diligent and disciplined, because we cannot move on to the next stage until we've removed the previous stage of scratches. So I guess the way of looking at it like this. On this, we're gonna sand this until we get smooth frets, which are almost polished, and then we'll take the polisher to it. But we're starting with big scratches on the top of the fret made by this thing here, and they're really, I mean, you can see, I know you can't see it, but they really are big, chunky grooves. So we have to work on the fret with some sandpaper that's meaty enough to pull out those grooves. And then we need to go to a slightly lighter one, which will pull out the grooves made by that sandpaper. Then we need to go to a lighter one that takes out the grooves made by the heavy sandpaper we just used, and so on and so on. And we keep going until we reach a mirror finish. So we're going to go 320, 600, and then we're going to jump to this micro mesh sequence, which I seem to have lost some of them. I don't know where there's one set here. Try to keep a set away out of the game for using on just lacquer. I mean, normally got 3 sets, and right now I can only spot 2. Oh, there's the second one. Okay, we'll keep this one the lacquer, and we'll use this one here on the frets. Right, so we're going to go 320. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, bearing in mind 320 will, if you stand there and rub it, it will take your frets down, and could easily take it down, take a fret down below the level, so you've created a new problem, which is not what we want to do. So I'm going to let, first of all, I'm not going to use a block, which would be likely to put a flat spot in it. I'm going to use my fingers and let my fingers roll up and down the frets, and I'm going to concentrate all the time on making sure that all the frets get the same level of treatment, so that if I am taking a few microns of material off, I'm taking it off across the place, across the whole board. And what I'm also going to do, just as we go, I'm going to have a bit of very, very fine sandpaper standing by as a kind of way of checking how we're progressing, and I'll show you how that works in a minute. Okay, so it's get a bit noisy, but so this kind of destroys the sandpaper pretty quickly actually, but it does the job. It's 320. And you can see that, well, I can see all the metally particles coming off the sandpaper, but I don't really mind. My objective now, first thing, I've rolled off some of the protective masking tape, so the first thing I'm going to do is stop, clean it off, and go on and put on some more masking tape before anything else. I don't want to run any risk of damaging this fingerboard. So I'm going to do a couple of big chunks of masking tape. More the merrier. You can never have too much. And likewise, if any of these start peeling off, I'm going to double them up and make sure they stay put. Obviously, sometimes it will, if you're going the other way, it'll pull off the other way, but I just want to take no chances with it. The more the merrier. Okay, so now I've also got a little magnifying glass standing by, ready to use, and I'll show you. Well, it's kind of self-explanatory, but these scratches that we have to get rid of are very, very fine, and it really helps to have something like the magnifying glass. There you go, we're peeling that off as well. Again, stop, put a brush down. Now, even if this now goes, if we find ourselves having to cut bits down, I still need to take the time to do it. There's no skimping this, so I'm going to use the ruler as a cutting board for a minute. I cannot afford to let this thing come up from the fingerboard, so I've got a bit more there in case I need it. Okay, so I'm still working on the 320 paper. Yeah, so the scratches the little leftover residual scratches can be so tiny that we really have to use a magnifying glass or something to get a look at them to ensure that we don't move on until we've got rid of them, because that's the easiest mistake. And if we do move on before we've got rid of them, what happens is we then kind of fool ourselves and we end up polishing around these chips or these scratches, and then you end up with shiny frets with scratches still in them, and it looks good but it doesn't play good. So as a sort of middle point, what I do to get a good view is we've been going longitudinally, so I get this very fine sandpaper and I just run the opposite direction, and it has the effect of taking off the shine, but it also immediately highlights the little black pits that are still standing on these frets, and it gives us a really quick, easy look, and especially if I get up close with this thing. Now I'm looking, basically what I'm looking for here is to make sure that all the scratches on here are what I would call 320 scratches, and they're not. There's still some dark spots, which are the troughs left over by deep gouges from this file. So that little inspection tells me I still need to carry on. So not far, but still need to carry on. And it's hard to describe, but you will know it, you will see it when you get to the place where all the file scratches have been replaced by 320 scratches. You'll recognise it. It's a kind of incredibly fine pattern, all going the same way. Whereas the 320, the file scratches at this stage look like little dark spots, because they really are. They're just miniature little troughs amidst a sea of fine 320 scratches. So it's quite easy to start to recognise it once you know, but you do have to look at it in that kind of level of detail. A magnifying glass really helps, and special working glasses or whatever it is you need to see up close. You can make a mistake if you don't have really good vision. And the trick of going across the grain as well seems to really work. I think I hit on that by accident, but it's a very effective way of showing up, not being fooled by the glare of the shine. And so what happens is once we've reached a spot where we've pulled out all the scratching from the file, or just to be technical, we've pulled out all the scratching from the previous implement, shall we say, then we move on to the next layer of sandpaper to remove all the scratching from its predecessor, and so on and so forth. And the finer we get, the easier that becomes. Now we're nearly there, but we're not quite, and I'm not going to allow myself to move until we are precisely there. This end's okay, it's this end that isn't quite got it yet, so I'm going to just try and focus a bit more on this end. Hard to do because you have to start off with kind of motion that you can't get without swooping into it, and there we go, pulling off the stuff again. So let's put some more on. So you can see it's been quite a while since we started this whole process, and it's not quick at all. Stay. Yeah, not quick at all. But you really can't rush it. And you might think this is an incredible amount of work for, well, what are we going to get out of it? We're going to get level frets, what's that going to give you? Well, to be honest, it's going to give you 0.5 millimetre action, playing action, possibly, down at the other end. So what else is it going to give you? Well, it's going to give you smooth, smooth frets, really smooth frets for bending and playing. But it's a lot of work for kind of small precision improvement, enhancement. Okay, I think we're qualified now to move on to the 600. So thank you, 320, off to one side. Again, now we've taken out the big gouges from the file. The 600 session paper is now, its purpose is to go until we've removed 320 scratching and replaced it with the finer 600 scratching, and so on and so on. And it's not that difficult to do now, because we're now playing on a level surface. And because it's level and we haven't got any big gouge holes, big sort of troughs or trenches, we should find that we quite quickly replace all that scratching with a finer scratching, which is basically known as polishing in simple terms. And I can see that's going pretty well. I've got no worries about that. Now, normally I might sort of push on quite quickly there, but I'm just going to allow myself to stay a bit longer on this phase, because what I really want is to get this spot on. And there's a point at which putting a little bit of extra time into this pays dividends at the final end, when we come to polish, finally buffing it up to a shine. Okay, that was that worn out. It doesn't last long, that paper. And I'm going to now utilise a foam pad with a kind of pointed end, and I'm going to start using this as my finger, kind of get a uniform pressure up and down. Again, still going up and over the fret, like to avoid putting flat spots on it, which is good. Okay, that's good. Now we move on, and this is the rundown now, using the 1500 and a few stages now down to 12,000. 1500, I'm going to spend a bit more time on this. I'm just going to cover off the end of this again. Cover up, devil. Yeah, so 1500, I'm going to spend a bit more time. Very fine paper, really. But the jump from 600 to 1500 is quite a big jump, so it doesn't hurt us to spend a bit longer on this one. Just thinking, you know, that taking it down a couple of hundred at a time is probably okay, and then you wouldn't have to spend so long, but jumping from, as I say, 600 straight down to 1500 is probably makes it a smart move to spend a little bit longer on this one. We want all those scratches to be right down to the 1500 level before we move on. So lots of dust everywhere. Okay, so that's now moving on. Again, I'm not going to spend quite as long now, since we're going in smaller chunks. And if you're not sure at any time, you can always stop, brush it all off, and have a sort of look around under the electron microscope. That's looking pretty good. So you'd be surprised that one of these is dead handy little things. I got it in the market in Tavistock, but it does a really good job of just these spot checks. And since I've been doing that, I've noticed that I've not had to go backwards and start again to try and level off or smooth out some of these frets. Not level, smooth them to polish. Before I used to do that, there would be occasions when I'd get to the end and I'd restring everything and then feel a gritty bit under the strings and have to go backwards. It's just kind of demoralising, really. You don't want to be doing that. For all manner of reasons, of course. Right, 2004 just gone, we're now 3002. Micro mesh, brilliant stuff. So as I said earlier, I think the fact now that your neck is level means that we're probably going to get just about the right sort of relief on it when we put it under load with the strings. Now if it isn't, if it's got too much relief, then we will have to take the strings off or take the neck off, make the adjustment and put it back on, which we don't really want to have to do. So I'm hoping that a bit of experience will gauge this just about right. Say it's not the most useful design not to have access to the truss rod like that. A little frustrating actually. Alright, so we're on 6,000. We're practically polishing now anyway. If you looked at this under the doofer now, you would be struggling to see the scratching. It's now being polished out. So fine this paper, you could do this for hours and you wouldn't take any significant amount of material off. So that kind of you're well past the danger zone. Then finally the 12,000. Just take one final look under the thingy, and that's pretty nice. I mean, you know, I can see microscopic scratching, but that's the nature of this. You are scratching to polish. This stuff will not in itself turn it into a mirror finish, so we're going to use a bit of polishing compound next. So we're all nicely masked off. We've got our Dremel with its new fabric wheel on it this time. Careful. So it's a bit of noise coming up, and this is a bit tricky because it tends to chuck goo around and about. Let's use some of this stuff. RF3, well, 3, grade 3 polishing compound. I'm just going to try and tip it out. Put it on manually really, because there's no easy way of putting it on or making it stay on, to be honest. It's just going to go everywhere, anytime, any place, anywhere. It's the way of the game. But it's okay. We end up with a big, dark, messy pile of masking tape, and then we pull it all off and give it another clean down. Rightio, so here we go. Noise. If you're going to use a Dremel, use 2 hands, whatever you do. The last thing you want to do is have this drag off the side and then you'll clang the chuck against the fret. If you do that, you'll be back to square 0. Not fun. Oh nice, this is going to disintegrate really quickly. Bits of fabric everywhere. I wonder how indestructible these aren't. Maybe there's just a few that's going to fall apart at the beginning, eh? Maybe. Alright, we'll see. We're going to try something new. As I say, don't get caught out and slack off and lose your concentration, because I tell you what, if you hit the frets with this part of the game, you will be gutted. And I'm saying this to myself as much as you. Because I have done it, hence I'm telling you. Shooting little bits of goo up my sleeve. Serves me right. So when you're doing this, remember what they say is that the majority of car accidents happen just a few hundred yards from home, and it'll be right about now when you think, hey, I'm nearly there. A couple more frets and I'll be finished. Hooray! Only an hour and a half later, or thereabouts. Running out all over the place. So we're very nearly done on this neck. Actually, we are done. This neck is done. Frets levelled, neck levelled, and there we have it, ready to go. Beautifully smooth, shiny. You can probably see. Going to now put this off to one side, hang it up somewhere out of the way, and in fact we're going to come back tomorrow, I think in daylight, and do the pickups. And yeah, so beautifully done. Takes its time, not quick, move quickly around it. So I'm going to hang him high in the shed, and tack him nicely, safely out of the way, and dangle there. And also what we'll do is we'll just move this a tad out of the way as well, and put it to one side. So some other things which aren't ready to move on yet, but I think I've got shed loads of things that are. And one of the ones I'm keen to make some progress on this weekend is going to be this one. So I'll stop and restart. Righty ho, this is Sam here in the Reloved Guitars workshop, wearing my special close-up glasses for the electrical job. Just changing some pickups, here. I'm getting my special zoom up close thing machine. Maybe you can see a bit better, probably not too bad. Yeah, so you can see what we're doing here is changing out these Seymour Duncan hot rails, switching them over with the pickups that are already in the neck position. So we're going to put them in there, put them back into the middle, and hoik the middle out. So what am I saying? Okay, so what we know is that the neck pickup comes down. In this case, it's a red. It's interesting. So straight away you get a difference between what's told on here. So it says solder the Seymour Duncan pickup wires into the same spot as the original pickup wires. So original pickup wires here in the neck position are going the neck. So we've got green and bare. Green and bare is going to the okay, well in this case it's going to be black, although it's not black in the map we're looking at here. It's in fact, what position it's going to? It's going to number 3 position. So that one there tracks to the, okay, that's good, tracks out to the front position. Now we're going to need to take that out and replace it with this one, which will come through like that. SHR1 neck pickup. And we've got some little wire, oh nice one, we've got some cable ties as well, which you can use in a minute. So I'm just letting my soldering iron heat up, and if I appear to be going slow on this, it's because I always do when it comes to electrics. I'm not a natural born electrician, which means I have to proceed on the basis of replacing what I see. So you'll often find me making a drawing of what's where and what I need to replace, and I might just do that a second. Dozens of other things going on as well. Right, so my little pencil, actually the most fattest pencil in the world. So okay, so on this front pickup we are going to front pickup. We've got 1, 2, and picked a pen that doesn't work as well. We've got 1, 2, and 3 on this thing, and from here we are going bare and green to the top. So black. This is black. So black to the neck, and this is middle. In this case, it won't be black. It'll be middle red. And then this will be rear. In this case it's also a red, rear bridge, red, bridge to red, bridge red. So that's slightly different changeover in colours between the Seymour Duncan and the one already installed. Okay, so we're going to take this one and we're just going to basically move all of this. We can, in fact, we only need to move the top bit, since the green of this. Oh, I see. We've got a volume and a single tone, right? Okie dokie. So all of these go to the top of this baby here, with an earth bridging the 2. Then we got the one from the selector switch comes back here. Okay, and these 2 go out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 and 2, and that one's into the middle, onto the middle. Yeah. Right, chattering away to myself. Okay, so this baby here, really what we're doing is we're changing that position, and we want it to go to the middle one, in which case we take out. Interesting. Okay. So this one has humbucking trick. Okay, the middle one's the middle one currently a single. Of course, it's a single coil, isn't it? Oh, which has got single coil is missing any extra bits. So the single coil one, the middle one, which is the white one, just goes straight to number 2 in this case. So we're going to take what is currently in position 1 and jump it across to position 3 and jump it across to position 2. And the white one is going to come out altogether because that is no longer something we need. The white one comes out, spits out, white comes out, this red goes to the middle position. Just took it out of the way for a minute. And we'll come up through there. Sounds like my kittens are going to go mad. Better not come in here while I'm wiring. I'll be most unpleased. So I'm just pulling this through. Keep those out of the way for a second. Keep these off to one side. I don't want to get too much heat in that neck of the woods. Solder. It's not a very good camera view, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. It's very tempting to blow on the solder, and somebody once said, "Don't do that, you get a weak join." And they're absolutely right. You must never blow on the solder. Okay, so we now have top pickup is now wired into the middle with the earths going to the top of the thing, and we now need to pull out the middle pickup because it's now no longer connected to anything. But to do that, we're going to take off this little cable tie, which we will need to use another one. Cable tie off, and now we're going to just need a screwdriver, which I've tied it up. Screwdriver to take out this middle prick up. And then we'll also move the front one down. And then we just add the black wire from our new Seymour Duncan. This screw's nearly stripped. I think I might have a spare one or a new one, which we can. It's not stripped. The head has been worn away. Come on. Now, in order to get this pick guard into this position, by the way, I've had to. I've just disconnected the. I've disconnected the earth that goes from the tremolo claw. And that gives me access, much better access. And this one here, this earth here, I'm going to clip off rather than melt the whole up and run the risk of everything coming off. So there's our old pickup. Now we're going to take this shield out of the way. Are we? We're working on. Oh right. That won't fit over there anyway. So now we're going to just drop this one back. But I want a different screwdriver for a minute. Yeah. So having just temporarily taken the earth, disconnecting the earth, or unsoldering the earth, gives me a lot more room to move this pick guard around. It's a really good thing. Nothing worse than trying to do any of this without any no ability to move it. You can't really get under it. I'm just putting these here, and also putting a cloth over the top of it. It's kind of good to protect your bodywork because there's no. It's great. Every likelihood that you drop a bit of solder on there, or a screwdriver or something. Okay, grab the spring so it doesn't pop anywhere. Okay, so with this one, we're just moving back one position, and while we've still got the spring in our hands on one side, we had the spring in our hands until I threw it away. I'm going to go through the plate, hook the spring up, and start winding it back onto this DiMarzio. Jabbly, jabbly. Don't want to go too far because I still need to make sure I've got access to the other one. Sometimes if you push it down too far one way, I don't know why, but it just means you can't quite line up the other screw to get it through. You have to slack it off all over again. Sorry, we've still got a dead fly somewhere around here. Right, stay. Okay, so that is now, this one is now connected to position 2, which is middle pickup. We've got that in place. Now we're going to drop this one in, and we'll need the springs we took off the other one. Where did we do those? Oh, we didn't have springs, did we? Okay. So we will need the springs that came with this kit, which are here. Actually, they're rubber instead of springs. Does the same thing. Same job. I remember when I first took my 30-year-old Squire Strat apart and discovered these bits of perished rubber, and they were absolutely ancient. I mean, well, they were 30 years old, and they just kind of worn out and turned into some sort of sticky blobs. It's very traditional. It's quite a nice touch. Not only that, it's sort of a little bit easier because you can you can put the screw through and screw it into this rubber blob and hold it there. Just as long as it comes through, then you don't have to worry. You can then, it stays there and it doesn't drop out. You don't have to fiddle around with the spring like you do with the other ones. Okay, so here we have Seymour Duncan. We'll offer this up to the front of the pickup. Let's get a bit of a bite there, which is good. Okay, now we go back to here, and what we have to do is we have to get, we've got these pair tied out the way as per the instructions in there. We've got the green, which is going to earth. We've got the bare wire that's also going to go to earth, so I'm going to twist those around each other a little bit, make it just a bit easier. I'm going to use my little grabber as well, which helps me to hold things. And then the most important bit is just to get the make sure we get the live wire into position. And while I'm just doing that, I'm going to just pull these together and pull out. Get myself a small cable tie. This should help organise things. It really diddy, just perfect. I mean, this is what's great about these cable ties, if they work. This came from market, so a bag of cable ties for about 90p. Oh yeah. Perfect. So that makes that job one hell of a lot easier. So that's kept that tidy. Obviously the purpose is we want to keep it in a straight line. And the same here really, so it wouldn't hurt to have another one on there since we've got so many. Okay, so we've got two things to do now. We've got the black one to attach here, and we've got, put this out of the way if we can, that's good. Yeah, the ones to put to earth and the black one. So I'm just trying to find the best route in for all these things. Okay. So this is always an iffy one for me, because you've got, what you've got on here is you've got a massive amount of wires already soldered into place, and to do this job I would be happier to finish this job off putting a new bit of solder down here for our purposes. So we don't have to be dependent on what's already gone before. Because what I don't want is all the other wires to spring up. So I'll keep these out of the way for a moment. Keep that out of the way. Okay. Find myself breathing again. And then we're going to go now to our position on our third place on the thingy here. Now I'm going to melt the solder and go in from the top on this one, just because I can. Use a bit more solder on here in a minute, I think. Let's see. It'll be alright actually. Okay, that's alright. And that's fine. So we have everything replaced. And we have this to go back to earth. Our new one in position, all looking good. And we're still connected at the jack plug as we speak. Right, so while we're here, I'm just going to get some of this dust up. So the one bit of not uncomfortable, but angled soldering that I'm going to do is it's the bit where I have to just drop the cloth on the floor. It's the bit where I have to put back on. Still want my cloth, damn it. The bit where I have to solder the earth back on. Because that's got to be done with this standing up in a bit of a iffy position. And again, that's going to go to the top of the pot. Can I do it here? Yeah, I think I can. And again, I don't want to spring everything else off just for the sake of rejoining this. It's not a very easy place to access now we've got everything back in. So I will put another blob of solder on here just for this thing on its own. Hopefully, so it just means we don't have to disturb the other bits. My neighbours, by the way. Now I'm in danger of being left-handed here, which is not what I want. Because where's my other? 1 second, looking for other pliers. Cool. Yeah, I prefer not to be working left-handed when I'm holding the soldering iron, so I'm going to try and do it this way so I can remain right-handed with the soldering iron, and try and just put this piece in. Come on. Hey, get out of my face! Oh God! Hideous. It's right there inside the guitar now. Nasty piece of work. Where'd she come? God, it's so vile. Right, one more thing to do now, and that's to just screw back in this little earth bit here, and then we're ready to put it back together, and we'll start the process of putting it all back together again. And after that, then comes the rest of the standard setup process. Come on, make up. Okay, I'm going to make my knees creak as I bend down to make sure all this tucks in without any overhang. It's always tricky to get wiring comfortably back into the slots provided, but once you get it in, and everything should drop in quite nicely. And it's just slightly off here. Come on, come from this side, down the slot in the middle. Thank you. Something still sticking up. Getting in the way. Okay, I see what it is. It's that. Go on, down you go. Okay, right. So having done that, I'm going to now unplug the soldering iron. And put it in a safe zone out of harm's way, and then we'll just make sure it's all sitting nicely, and then I'll go around and put in the screws. Always remind myself never to overdo it with these screws, because this is plastic you're holding down. It's not like it's got to hold the whole guitar together. It only needs a light touch. If you put too tight a touch on it, it will crack the plastic. It just stresses it way too much. So it's about, I don't know what time it is now, it's about 5:30 or something, and I'm thinking if we just get this together and test it, and it's all going nicely. Bring these rails higher. Yeah, if we get it all running nicely and set up and intonated okay, then might give Tom a ring and get it back to him tonight. I think we'll do it in the next hour. Seymour Duncan hot rails doesn't quite fill the space in quite the same way. It's got a sort of double curve on the edge of it, which leaves you a little bit of space around the edge of your cutout, but it's nothing major. It still looks pretty cool. It's got 2 whites and 1 black now. This must be an 11-hole thingy. Seems to be going on for a long time. Good. Was something I read online, some discussion going on about whether it worked or was any good to put a Seymour Duncan hot rails in the neck pickup position. I don't really know what the objections were, but just like any of those things on these forums, there's a lot of discussion going on, so there were definitely different views about it. Okay, so having done that, I'm just going to give this a quick wipe down before we go into putting the neck back on mode. The neck, by the way, which is done, as we saw it finished yesterday. Okay, lovely jubbly. The right stuff this time. And that's plastic, thankfully, but really, when we come to the paintwork, we need, or the lacquer, we need our friend naphtha, not our friendly alcohol, which is good for plastic. Okay, so lovely and clean, sparkly. We'll get on to the putting it all together now. Now remember, in the last video I mentioned the issue with the truss rod and the fact that we can't get to it once the neck is back on. I live next to some demons, some witches or something. Yeah, so we can't get to the truss rod adjuster once we've put it all back together again, which is a bit of a, I always think is a silly oversight, and I've only ever seen it on 2 guitars in the past. This one and the other one was a left-handed Encore Strat style guitar, and it really made setting the thing up more of a pain than it had to be. Okay, so I'm going to stop this briefly, get rid of everything on the workbench, reset my camera angle, and then we'll get back into the next or final stage of this, so back in a second. Righty-ho, Sam here again in the Reloved Guitars workshop, and just heading towards reconnecting Tom's Jackson Adrian Smith super-strat style guitar neck. Done last night, frets levelled, shined, everything nice, hunky-dory, cleaned, polished, ready to go. So we've got our base plate, thin plate, neck plate here, and we'll start putting this back together again. Just make sure it's cleanish. I see, okay, it's a metal plate, comes on a plastic base, that's fine. Just make sure they stay together. Now we had no, there were no thingies, shims is the word I'm looking for, but it was a very tight fit, which is good. So we're just going to gently waggle it back into place and make sure that we know where it's meant to be. Flip it over and take its weight on top of its frets there, and then I'm going to put the thing back on, drop the screws in and put them in hand tight to begin with, and then I'll resort to my screwdriver, but it's on a pretty loose torque so it won't over tighten them, although it's on the wrong head at the moment. Changing these things with one hand. There we go. I'm just going to gently put these in. I just want the screw to find the wood and make sure it's comfortable that it's back in its normal place. And when it does, it will locate quite easily. if you ever get to do this and you feel something's pushing or straining, then stop. And then for the last one, make sure that you let the base plate locate before you do it too tight. And then this one, then what I'll do is I'll just do a couple of turns or half turns by hand, just to make sure. But before I put it under any more pressure, I'm just going to literally look round it and convince myself that it's back in and it's all level. It's really odd. You wouldn't believe that anything could get in there or mess that up, based on what I was just doing. But amazingly it can. Sometimes the two pieces of wood coming together can sometimes jam in relation to each other, and it kind of stops the thing going on properly, and it can sort of seal up like, I don't know, it's a bit like as if it glued itself tight in one position. That's okay, it's good. Yeah, so don't ever trust that it's gone in properly until it's seated nicely, you know, and it's clear that it's in the right place, and don't screw anything together too quickly until you're absolutely sure that it is in the right place. I think this is my fourth set of only ball strings this weekend. I've been going at it. Oh, that's right, I'm not using these, am I? I knew really, I was just testing myself. Brain off. Just as well I reminded myself, wasn't it? That would have been an expensive waste. So I will use those anyway, but good. Right, back on track. So these are regular numbers, and we've got 10 down to 46, and they differ only just slightly. So mine would go 9, 11, 16, and these go 10, 13, 17. So it's very, very slight, but enough. So with these, what do you want to call it? This thing, the Floyd Rose thing, Floyd Rose. This requires the right thing. Yeah, with the Floyd Rose, then you cut. You don't put. What would you call the barrel thing? We cut that off. It doesn't get used in this thing, and so the string gets tucked into the thingy. I'm losing my words completely. Yeah, we put the string into the Floyd Rose arrangement without the barrel bit. Some what do they call them? Some of these, I've seen a Floyd Rose system, Floyd Rose style system, that you do keep the barrel on. I can't remember where it was now. I think it was a vintage guitar. Yeah. So it stayed on, which I guess takes a little bit more room in the design of it. So I'm just going to tuck this under the bar, and then over into the thingy. And by thingy I mean, again, more loss of words. The thingy is the locking nut, the bottom part of the locking nut, which is permanently screwed into place. Now with the Floyd Rose, you know that as we put the strings under load, or put load on the strings, then the Floyd Rose system will rise up, and then we'll end up being able to tune it. So I'm just cutting as we go. up here. Let's put that back there. So these little holders are all already slack because we released them to let the string out in the first place. It doesn't hurt to open them up a couple more turns just to make sure we can get the string in exactly where we want it. And for the string to stay properly fixed, it tends to work really well, quite easily on these bigger strings, but it can be quite tricky when you get up to the finer ones, because sometimes the string tends to slip down the side, and when it does that, it then isn't gripped properly, so you can be tightening the whole thing up, and then it goes ping and fires out, which is kind of depressing, particularly if it means it costs you a string in the process, because sometimes you don't really want to reuse the string when it's been already crimped. Now, typically for me, you can pull the string through straight until it's fully tensioned, and on this kind of guitar I pull it back about 1.5 inches, and then start winding on from there. Just from my experience, that gives it enough to really grip. And as I learned this weekend, I'd still do the same even if I was using something like Wilkinson's Easy Lock tuners, which I use all the time, and they advertise themselves as being able to pretty much just push it through, turn the right angle on the string, and then wind on. And my experience is you still have to wind a bit extra on, because if you don't, chances are it will pop out. Well, not pop out, it'll actually what it does is it unwinds itself very, very slowly, slithering off the tuner peg post, which is quite annoying, because as soon as you start bending strings when you're playing, then this thing's detuning itself, which you don't want. Okay, so we're on to the D string. Now, like I said, we've put this all back together again in such a way that now we're going to have to trust that my judgment on the truss rod was correct, and that this time when we put the guitar under load, the neck will bend to just about the right amount of relief, compared to before, which didn't have any relief. In fact, it had a sort of convexity, which is really going to make playing difficult unless you crank the action quite high. So hopefully with a bit of relief in the neck, that should ease that a little bit. We hope. Kind of, it always amazed me about these Floyd Rose systems is that, I mean, you can jam them wide open if you want, but it's always surprised me that the way they work is that they, by nature, they're sort of unavailable. You know, they pull back until you've got them under load, but it's when they're not under load that you need to get to the back end to get the strings in. So I think technically it's a pretty brilliant tuning solution, because I really do like. It's really nice to be able to play it and have the thing not go out of tune. But it does make loading it and stringing it a bit of a pain. I can feel the difference in these strings. They are definitely chunkier. And obviously they are, but it's funny to be able to actually feel it. But then again, normally in the past I would have used an Ernie ball. No, that's not true. I'm lying. I would have used an elixir combination of strings, and I don't remember what the gauge would have been. It would have been some sort of maybe light or extra light or something. So it's only since I've been doing guitar work that I use sort of standard Ernie ball 9s. Mainly because for a sort of bog standard Strat that I'm doing up from eBay, it seems to be a good compromise. But you know, it's obvious that everybody has their own favourite once they've been playing some time. Okay, we are nearly at full strung point. And the last one. Good thing is, with slightly thicker string gauge, this grip on the top E should be better all round. It did have some problems with it on another guitar. And on the final hurdle, before I go too tight, I just got to make sure it goes under the string tree thing, and make sure it's in the locking nut slot. Chop it off, and here we have our so in a bit, when we put this under a bit more tension, we should find that the tremolo bar comes up. Okay, we're nearly getting there. Take away my bits of paper. And right, we're now floating. We're going to have a combination now of string slacking, which is bound to do, and also the trem going the other way, which is going to kind of get in the way of everything for a minute. I seem to remember the correct way to do this was probably to use a tuner, which we can do. Tuner, should we use a tuner? Should we use a tuner? Use an A. Okay, let's see where we are in terms of these tuners. We're half and half, I think. So I still want to give it some stretch. And then we want to plug it in and just do a little test. Oh, the cats will call it kitten, mouse. Hold on one second, let's see if I can see it. Who's got the mouse? Well, couldn't find it this time. This is very pleasantly easy to get into tune. Some trems seem to go haywire when you try and get them back into tune, particularly after you restrung them. This one's behaving, I'm really pleased to say. Makes my job a lot easier. At this point in time, I'd be tempted now to lock off the little devils and why not? And then we can, actually the intonation should be fine if it was fine before. We haven't changed any of the lengths of anything, which is good, so I'll just check it to make sure it is. Because I'm not massively comfortable in how the hell you do it with a Floyd Rose under full pressure. This is another one of the downsides of Floyd Rosing. Despite the wonderful tuning stability you get. So we have out of this a complete range of notes and probably a bit of room to play now on the height of the action. Fingers crossed we get a functioning pickup. Don't want is that. Bring the rails out quite close, certainly the Seymour Duncan one, which at the moment has got big gap. So we'll put it quite high up. See what happens. I'll bring the middle one up a bit as well. Tuning rack. Pretty sounding guitar. Quite a lot of interesting tones in that Hot Rails. Right, we're done. We're done. I'll send you a text in a minute, I think, Mr. Tom. Give it a quick polish over. But I'm going to just adjust the action down slightly. Just to see what options we've got.
The dreaded thing you put off, and you've done it.
It's all finished. Right. Okay. I will text Tom and I'll put the bits back on, like the back plate and stuff. And there we go. Jackson Adrian Smith, beautiful super strat thing with Seymour Duncan hot rails in the neck pickup. DiMarzio hot rails in the middle, and a standardy looking humbucker in the bridge pickup. Nice done. I'm going to tweak the action a little bit and then we'll get it back to you. There you go.